640,000 ounces of gold. That is what China's central bank bought in July, and it is roughly 15 times what they were buying just 6 months ago. They've now bought gold for 21 months without missing a single one, and their buying has roughly doubled month after month for all of this year. That is a country in a hurry to buy gold. Then, in the same month, they dumped $25.9 billion of American government debt. They've not held this little US debt since 2008. And if you hold gold or silver, this is not automatically good news. A buy that size lifts up your price, sure, but central banks do not move like this over nothing. Something has spooked them, and they are not going to tell us what, so we have to figure it out for ourselves. Today, we need to talk about what China's plan for gold actually is, what it does to your gold, and where it sends price. Let's figure this out together. We're going to start with reserves. It's an important piece of this overall puzzle. So what are a country's reserves? Reserves are a country's piggy bank. How many savings they have in case of emergencies. So if I asked you which country has the biggest piggy bank in the world, who would you guess? Well, most would say the US, but actually it is China, and it's by a huge margin. 3 times more than number 2 on the list, which is Japan, by the way. Okay, so what is actually held in a country's piggy bank? What do they have in their piggy bank? Mostly just 3 things: foreign currency, gold, and government debt. The gold and the currency makes sense, but how can you put debt into a piggy bank? Well, think about debt as IOUs. One country loans money to another. They get an IOU in return with a promise to receive interest plus the cash back at the end of the loan's term. So that IOU is a reserve asset. For the last 80 years, most countries around the world lent money to America. They said, here, take this money, go build stuff, start a war, I shouldn't have said that, and pay us the interest, then give us the lump sum back when the loan is up. And this is why the US doesn't have as many reserves as others, because the US is the borrower. They borrow from the world, so they don't have many savings of their own. And by the way, this is not an attack on America. Reserves aren't everything. They just happen to matter for today's conversation. So yeah, China has the biggest piggy bank in human history, which means China is one of America's biggest lenders. Okay, so now that we understand reserves, let's talk about what China is doing with its own reserves right now. Number 1 is China's gold reserves. In July, their central bank bought 640,000 ounces of gold, biggest month since 2023. That takes them to total holdings of 2,366 tons, but it's probably a lot more than that. That's just the official number they give us. And they are on a monster 21-month buying streak. For the first 6 months of this streak, they bought around 40,000 ounces per month. Then they upped it to 160,000, then 260,000, then 320,000, then 480,000, and then finally 640,000. Roughly doubling over and over and over while gold's price was falling. They were buying the dip. Let that be a lesson to not financial advice. Now, for number 2, we have to step back a month to June because Washington publishes this number on delay. In June, China bought 480,000 ounces of gold and simultaneously cut their pile of American government debt by 25.9 billion, down to 633 billion total, which, as I've said, is the smallest they've held since September of 2008. They are buying gold and they are dumping US debt. It's not a one-for-one swap, by the way, because they bought $2 billion worth of gold and sold $25.9 billion worth of debt, but they still dumped US debt and bought gold. Now, when you look at these numbers on their own, they say one thing. So on its own, the gold number is just a central bank topping up its savings. On its own, the debt number is just a country trimming a position. But if you look at them side by side, it starts to look like China is changing their mind about what reserve assets that they consider safe. Quick thing before you go, I've written a free guide called How to Retire Before 2036. It's a full 10-year plan for anyone starting late. Get out of debt, invest properly, retire on time. Free download, link in the description.